Hello walkers, and welcome to Livingston, Montana. Oh, you hear the friendly train blaring its horn. It's a siren song. You can see the Yellowstone River down there. It's at 13,000 CFS. It's actually down from where it was. It'll clear up here in about another couple weeks. And there you can see Livingston extending out into the background. It is, what is it? It's August 12th, I believe. No, June. Wow. June 11th. It is, let me give you some data here. June 11th, about 2:30, 2:45. It's about 81 degrees Fahrenheit, 27 degrees Celsius. We are starting above the Myers River View Trail. I'm going to spin around and show you. It's kind of between here and that bridge, which we have walked in the past. I'll try to remember to put a link in the description below. And we are actually going to head from there, east. And off to the right, that big peak that still has snow on it, that's Livingston Peak. We are walking along Myers Lane, which becomes the old Boulder Road as we go underneath the highway here. The highway, excuse me, is Interstate 90, or as if you're from California, you might call it the 90. It goes from here out to Seattle, or if you go the other direction, somewhere out on the East Coast. But it goes across the whole country. What else? It is a beautiful day, a little breezy, but not too bad. We've had a lot of summer wind, which is kind of unusual. Excuse me. The situation, well, first of all, give us a like, a thumbs up, and leave us a comment. My last video that I filmed was along the Bear Trap Canyon, and I asked everybody to leave a comment about whether you liked the talking or not talking, and the consensus by far was that people enjoyed my descriptions. So I will try to talk when I have something to say and be quiet when I don't. I want to thank Traveling Mel for all of her wonderful California and Nevada walks. I just posted the last of her Nevada walks today, and so from now on we're going to be filming in and around Montana at least into July. We're going to film some other small towns, we're going to film some nature trails, maybe film a little bit of a float down the river, if I can figure that out. And then we're going to take, the plan is, we'll see what circumstances allow, but the plan is to go out to the West Coast in Oregon and stay with some folks out there for a few days. And I'll be doing some beach walks and other kind of nature and town walks there. Not sure exactly where those will be yet. I think in another walk I mentioned Green Up, and we are in the middle of Green Up right now. You can see off to the left there, Sheep Mountain in the distance, and the crazy mountains behind that. Still got a lot of snow on them. You can see how green everything is. In about 3 weeks, that'll all start to turn brown, or beige, or tan, which is lovely in and of itself, but the spigot kind of shuts off around July 4th. Excuse me. We do have a lot of grass pollen in the air. I've done a lot of, not a lot, I've done some biking, and one evening I biked up here, did a big loop, and oh, the lighting was spectacular. And I was thinking about doing it tonight, but my schedule is just not going to allow it. Let's see, what's the other situation? The pandemic situation is we have no active cases in Park County right now. However, as the tourism season starts to pick up, we're going to start to see some, I think. Gallatin County, right next door, has had, I think, 12 new cases in the last 2 weeks, last week. So that's a little bit worrying, but still, relatively speaking, we're doing pretty well. Hospitals are geared up and ready for everything, well, as much as they can be. Let's see, the protests, not a lot of protests or demonstrations here in Livingston, but over in Bozeman, I went to one and there were 5,000 people, which is about 10% of the entire city showed up. Very peaceful, very vocal, which was great, and I think they're going to do another one this week. Look at these yellow wildflowers down here. I'm going to try and get over to Bozeman and do another city walk over there to show you the situation. It's pretty much open now. Similar restrictions as to other places. But one of the things I want to do is go up to hike the M Trail, which is a big white M. Out here they do big letters on the mountainsides above the towns. And so M stands for Montana State. And there's a trail up there, and there's a lot of, I've been seeing pictures of arrowleaf balsam root, which are these large yellow wildflowers. Really pretty, really nice views. So we'll see if I can find some time to go hike the M and give you some great views of Bozeman and the Bridgers, and hopefully some nice wildflowers. My son and I were biking over here about a month ago, and he pointed out one of these Montana Banksies, which I think I've talked about before. I think it's a lady who does this rock art anonymously. She does have a Montana Banksy Instagram account, and this one's kind of cool. Some sunflowers. Usually they're down by the river and they get washed away, but this one's up high. There's a couple others up here. I think you can see it. Usually, oh yeah, here we go. There's a stone, a marker stone, the title and the date. Typical flat space graffiti. It's like there have been various attempts to cover it up. This can be tricky. They have a barbed wire fence up here, and I've got all these wires hanging off me with the audio, and then of course holding the camera can be a little tricky. We're gonna see how we can get through here. Looks like I might be able to just go around the fence. I don't know. So off to the right here is a road leading over to some BLM land, public land, Bureau of Land Management. And one of the things people do here in Montana is to go shooting. And they drive their cars up here, set up some targets, usually with a safe backdrop, pretty responsible for the most part, and they shoot stuff. I think I might be able to just step over this. You can see, oh, here's some nice flowers. Yellow. You can see that basically just a loop of wire of a post, and I'm just going to step over this, but if you had a vehicle or a bike, you would have to open that, and then when you're done, you close it back up. The rule of thumb is if you come up on a closed gate, you leave it closed. If it's open, you leave it open. I just love this view of these mountains. Oh, well, sorry about that. I was focusing on something else. Try to cut that out. So, if we were to follow this to its conclusion, this road, it would lead up to another dirt road. Well, it's actually paved at that point, called Swingley Road. And that road will go all the way over to the Boulder River, which flows down past Big Timber, which is one of the towns we'll be exploring next month or so. Excuse me. And then before you get to Swingley, there's another road that leads way up into that mountain range to a trailhead that allows you to hike up to Livingston Peak or to drop down to Seuss Creek, which is another one of the trails that I'm going to take you guys on. It is fully thawed out and in bloom and a lovely little creek. You can see somebody's out here camping. Which, since it's BLM land, is totally legal, as far as I know. Off to the left, there are a couple wind turbines that I think were put up in the 70s as experiments. I don't think they really function anymore, but I'm not sure either. looks like there's a slight chance of rain. If we look that way, hopefully it'll miss us. If not, I'm filming on a GoPro, so at least that'll stay dry. You can see why they call this the Big Sky State. It just goes on forever. Mentioned that it's 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Tomorrow it's supposed to be 90. And usually we don't get too hot here. 80, 85 is really kind of pushing it for us in terms of human tolerance. We're a little soft. But in eastern Montana it regularly gets over 100 degrees. It is a dry heat, but it's still hot. And without a lot of shade, you really feel the sun. When I moved here in 2003, I left Arlington, Virginia, where it was, I think, 95 degrees and 100% humidity. Got here and it was over 100 degrees for at least 2 weeks with nearly 0% humidity, and it was so nice compared to all that humidity and dampness. as I walk, I am keeping an eye out for snakes. It's my understanding we only have one venomous snake in Montana. It's the prairie rattler, and they are the least venomous and the least aggressive of the rattlesnakes. You don't want to get bitten one by one, but they are really not much of a threat to people that are walking heavily or when it's warm enough. I think, you always have to be careful. So they're always really kind of a threat, but I think if you're careful, they're not really an issue, but you hear that rattle and it does something to your atavistic brain and sends a chill down my spine. And I always try to give them plenty of space. But none so far. Oh wow. Looks like a curlew. You hear that? That is a seabird that comes up here to nest in the grasslands, and I haven't seen them around here, but it makes sense. I've mainly seen them up around the American Prairie Reserve in Malta, out south of Malta, Montana. Very cool. I think I'm going to cut across here into the BLM land, what I think is BLM land. Again, being watchful of snakes. I'm wearing sandals, so it's not the best cross-country footwear. There's also cactuses in here, or can be. That curlew's happy to see the back of me. Try to get on this little 2-track. Oops. Sorry for any wind noise. We're headed straight into it. just as a note, at this point we're headed south-ish. I'll stop and let you see some of these flowers real quick, just because they're so pretty. I don't know if you can tell, but there's a little pass up ahead. It's actually a canyon, and that's where Highway 89 goes down towards Yellowstone along the Yellowstone River. Oh, look at that behind us. I don't know if he's following me or if I just spooked him. Kind of straight ahead. He's going to take off here. There you go. Might be a little upset that I'm near a nest. So I'm just going to keep going and hope that I don't cause a problem. There is a lark of some sort. There's no way you're going to be able to see it with this wide lens, but pretty little bird. If you're wondering where you're going, or we're going, the answer is I'm not exactly sure. I was just trying to get a better view of these mountains to the south, the wine glass. And then, of course, Livingston Peak on the left side of the frame. And maybe also give you an idea of how open and big Montana is. It is a massive place with not a whole lot of people, which, to be honest, is one of the most alluring parts of it. All right. There's Livingston straight ahead. The Bangtails, I think, maybe, beyond them. And I-90, those cars. Then you get up into the Crazy Mountains, and along to the left of the Crazies is the Shields River. To the right of the Crazies is Sheep Mountain, which overlooks the Yellowstone River. A lot of wonderful clouds. And then, of course, back to Livingston Peak, the Absoraka Range, the Absoraka Mountains, which is also a big wilderness area, which means you can't use bikes or motorized vehicles. Beautiful up in there. And the wine glass again. I want to thank you for joining me today again. I know this hike wasn't really the most dramatic, but it's a pretty area, and it's right outside of town, public land, plenty of room to ride your bike or walk your dog or go shooting, as I mentioned. And we are very lucky to have these public lands for everybody to use. So if you make it out to Livingston, consider a nice walk up here or a bike ride. Give us a like, thumbs up, comment, all that fun stuff. Click that bell, subscribe, all the cool YouTube stuff. And be safe out there. And what else? Thanks for all those wonderful comments, and we'll look forward to hearing more. In the meantime, happy walking.